you are the only one who's supposed to care about your animation. Everybody, this is Alessandro. Welcome back to my channel. So one of the things I noticed, since I've been teaching now for a few years, is a two clear distinction. Okay, so I see some students then when I teach them about when it comes polish, the quality, and the details that you need to put in your animation, right? They tend to remember, and then apply all this by themselves. All right, I want to give you some examples. Sometimes when we do polish or we do certain things, or when we do poses, I told them, okay, you need to be care about the line of action, the contrast, all those things. When you do polish, make sure you analyze a small section and you go in every single details. You do the arc, the spacing, the acceleration, go to the graph editor, check popping in, all those things, right? And once I explain a few times and I demonstrate on them, with them how to do it, they will do by themselves. The next section, they will apply all those details. Maybe, of course, sometimes they still makes mistakes, but I can see that they put attention to details. On the other side, I see some students that even though I explain the same things over and over, sometimes when they start to do polish and stuff like that, I could see clearly that they do not put the same attention to details. Why? Because sometimes I look at their poses and I told them, hey, look, since you've been moving to polish, maybe you over polish and you lose your poses. Look, it should have been like this and now it's like this. Look at the arc, it's all broken. The spacing is very linear. Your knee is popping all over the place. Look at frame this and this. The hands all look in T poses, right? I pointed out a bunch of things that I feel like, yes, I didn't notice. Oh yes, I didn't notice. And so the feeling that I'm getting is that when they do their assignment, they rush it out. They don't spend enough time, hours, to analyze every single section as I taught them. And mostly because the attitude is like, okay, I think this is good enough. Yeah, maybe it's not perfect, but I hope Alessandro doesn't see it and, it's gonna approve and move to the next section. Like, they are doing it hoping to trick me so I don't notice it, and it's gonna move to the next one. And this is a very bad attitude, because even if you trick me, you might not trick the supervisor who leads, who's gonna watch on your demo reel, and is gonna compare it to other potential animators that they care more than you. All right, because this kind of attitude I was having when I was going to high school, right? And I didn't care about high school that much. I just want to move on and learn animation and stuff like that. All the things that they teach me, they didn't interest me that much, so I was doing the bare minimum just to move forward, right? But again, because I didn't care, when you study animation, you're supposed to care, love it, want to craft it, be a perfectionist, at least when you're working on your own things at home, right? If you don't have that attitude, again, if you don't care enough about your animation to want to make it perfect, someone else will, and someone else will get the job instead of you. That's one of the hardest things. It's always difficult. Even if I repeat over and over, it's very difficult for people to complain. Even sometimes when I tell them about the schedule, I say, guys, let's try to do this assignment a lot faster, because keep in mind, once you finish your demo reel, there's a 90% chance at company will give you a test, and they will give you 5 days to do it, not 6-7 weeks or 4 to 5 weeks to do an assignment. So if you're not used to it, you might, they might ask you for an interview and stuff like that, but then you will fail the test. And so sometimes I see, students coming to me, Alessandro, this week I couldn't work much because blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, it's like, it's your things. It's not my problem if you take 8 months to do an animation. It's not gonna do anything to you. The problem is yours. This is your career, right? If you don't care about making things efficiently and at the best quality as possible, it's gonna be your problem. Because the lead, the supervisor who need to hire someone, he would see that you don't care about your animation, you don't care about pushing all those details. And even if I push you to all those details, but this is your attitude, I can guarantee you guys, when you will go to your first job, or when you go to a job, that supervisor lead is not gonna be there next to you telling you, clean the arc like here, adjust the weight, let's open the graph editor and take a look together. It's not gonna do any of that. It's gonna give you an assignment. Sure, it's gonna give you some guidance, but definitely not pushing you to do all those details like I'm doing it. He's expecting you, and it's right, that you do it by yourself out of passion. If you don't do it, you're out. Next, come in. All right. So that's one of the things that I guess I see. That's what I said, this distinction. And again, this is something I can't stress enough. You are the only one who's supposed to care about your animation. Not doing the bare minimum, hoping that the other person doesn't see your mistake, your lack of motivation. Because with this attitude, I can tell you now, you're not gonna go very far in your career. Maybe you're gonna get a job where company just doing mock-ups, so they don't care about the details, or TV series with very low quality. But as I mentioned many times, they don't care very much about the quality, right? So you're not gonna go very far. And so even though I remember I did a video back then where I make a list of things that you should care every time when you're polishing a smaller section, I'm gonna do a very quick recap. Like the way I do it, right, is normally let's assume I have a 300 frames animation, right? I take 70 frames, small section, going from one starting position to a small pause or something. So I'm gonna analyze only these 7 frames today. What I'm gonna do first when I polish, first of all, want to make sure that the poses is still the same that I did before, that I'm not losing my poses or I can push them anymore. Timing, is the timing fast enough? Can I improve the spacing? Is it too floaty? Does the animation has weight? Any up and down? Do I need to exaggerate the up and down, the hold into a jump and stuff like that? All right. Then I'm gonna go in every single detail. I start with the hip, right? I check the arc, up and down, hip rotation. I go into the graph editor if there is anything I can polish and improve even more, right? Is this any frame is kind of frozen, right? Then I do the feet. I make sure that I track the arc of the feet, the pivot, if the pivot of the feet is supposed to be where it's supposed to be. Anytime the body moves, I want to make sure the feet is not completely frozen but slightly move a little bit. Fixing the poppy knee. Then the spine, make sure the spine has a nice contrast in shape, contrast in twist. Make sure the line of action is good. Again, maybe adding a bit of squash and stretch, a bit of overlapping between each joint, right? Then I move to the head. Again, I want to make sure that the head is not straight front to camera like this, but maybe it's a little bit tilted, you know, with a kind of interesting angle. Again, I want to make sure that the head is not broken compared to the neck, that the neck has this angle and the head is tilted like this. It looks completely broken. It happens all the time. Eye direction, and then again the arms, the shoulder, make sure the shoulder is moving properly, that the pose of the arms are not twin, that the 2 arms are not moving always at the same time, but there is one frame of offset. Finger pose that things looks appealing, not in T poses, but more gentle or with a nice contrast. So all those things, I do it every 70 frames, 50, depends case to cases, guys. But you understand where I'm going with this. Every small section. And again, when I see people animation when they submit the work for my review and everything, I can see immediately who took care of this and who doesn't. To the point, guys, where one of my students submit his animation and I open it for the first time and just play once. I say, okay, I can see here the hip, it moves fast and then boom, it freezes and it doesn't move anymore. I can see the feet is not moving, it just fully frozen and boom, it's snapping in one frame. I can see here the arc of the arm is broken. I can feel the overall timing is very floaty. It has no weight, it has no acceleration, deceleration. Everything is kind of even. I don't see any up and down. I don't see any arc on the nose. It looks all messy. Like I can see immediately, right? So if I'm able to see immediately after I explain to the student many times, there is no way, and I can tell you, there is no way that the student can see this animation and says, okay, this is perfect now, I can move to the next one. If I'm able to see all these mistakes, even if the student has obviously not the same eye strain as me, but it's been starting with me with the 4 to 5 months, it should be learned by now. Maybe is not gonna spot all these mistakes, but maybe at least a few of them. All right. For me, is more of the things. That's more of the mentality where I mean this is good enough. Let's move forward. It's always like this. Like they think like they're working on something. Okay, maybe they work on the hip, then they work on the arm, then they work on everything. And then once they work on the last part, could be maybe the finger, they don't re-watch the entire things before moving to the same sections. So like, okay, I move the finger, let's move to the next section. No, wrong. Re-watch that section and restart again from the list. It's the poses, let me go frame by frame. Not just watch it like this. Pause, frame by frame. Are this pose good? Is this pose good? Then Alessandro said I should check the trajectory of the hip. Let me re-watch one more time after I polish everything. They don't do that, because or else if they would have done it, they would have of course, spot the same mistake that I'm pointing out. Because if they will go again over the list and says, Alessandro says, the feet should not be fully frozen when the bodies move. Let me rewatch for the 10th time this animation and only focus on the right foot, for example. Let me zoom the camera and see. If they would have done this, they would have noticed it. End of the story. If I tell them, hey, try to add a squash and stretch, and the difficult, man, open the graph editor, watch the squash and stretch, and see if there is something, right? Spacing in the arm. Again, it's not that difficult. Put the animation in Sync Sketch and track your arm frame by frame, and you see that it's very even, right? And the difficult is just that you didn't do it. If you haven't done it, you would have spotted immediately. So it just, again, for me, at the end of it, when people say, oh, I don't have the eyes, okay, I understand that, but I'm giving you the tool to spot those mistakes. You don't have the eyes, but if you are tracking frame by frame, you'll see it. Because you know what's the funny things? When I'm the one tracking the frame by frame, for example, for an arc, as soon as I track it and the arc goes like this, I say, oh, I see it now. Well, the reason why you didn't see it, because you're not doing what I'm doing right now. You probably just watched the play blast and maybe you can spot it. That I can understand. But I'm giving you the tool to spot those things. And you're the one not doing it. You're skipping those process. And again, that's what I'm saying. If you are lazy, because this is out of laziness, there is no, or distraction maybe, call it whatever you want, but either way it's not a good thing. You're not doing all this. Again, other people will find out. They're not gonna get an interview, or maybe gonna fail your test, or there is a higher chance someone else with better skill than yours will get a job. Or even if you manage to get a job, good chance when you get a job, they will notice that you don't put enough attention to details, and they'll let you go out from the company. That's all. Okay, guys, hope you enjoyed this video, and see you next time. Ciao.